Teo wants nothing more than to be a shield mage, wielding arcane energies to protect his people from the world's vicious diamond storms. When he's buried alive in the aftermath of his first real tempest, the young mage's life is about to end before it can truly begin. In a flash, a power he didn't know he had whisked him away from his home to a world of stone, glass, and wonder, Ravnica. Teo is a planeswalker, one of many to be called to the world-spanning city, all lured by Nicol Bolas, the Elder Dragon. Bolas lays in siege to the city of Ravnica, hungry for the ultimate prize, godhood itself. His unparalleled magic and unstoppable army appear poised to bring the city to utter ruin. Among those who stand in the way of Bolas' terrifying machinations are the Gatewatch, planeswalkers, sworn to defeat evil, no matter where it's found. But as they work to unite the other mages and mount a defense of the city and its people, the terrifying truth of Bolas' plan becomes clear. The Elder Dragon has prepared a trap to ensnare the most powerful mages from across the multiverse, and it's too late to escape. As forces, great and small, converge on the city, the battle rages. The stakes could not be higher. If the Gatewatch falters and the Planeswalkers fail, the curtain will fall on the Age of Heroes and rise on the infinite reign of Nicol Bolas. Magic the Gathering, War of the Spark, Ravnica. Written by Greg Weisman. Narrated by Robert Petkoff. Alright, so I'm back with another book review, this time for Magic the Gathering's War of the Spark, Ravnica. Now, I want to start this review by letting you know I'm a huge fan of Magic the Gathering. I really got into it over 10 years ago, right around the time Lorwyn came out, so I had a little bit of experience with the game previously, but I didn't have a lot of people to play with. It kind of got shelved for several years. The very first set I actually ever bought cards for was Darksteel, back during the Mirrodin block. But when I actually really got the chance to really play the game a lot was during the Lorwyn release. So ever since then, I have really played until Kaladesh came out. When Kaladesh came out, things were going on in my life, and I didn't get the chance to play as much or keep buying any more of the new cards. I was also growing ever frustrated with the game, but that's, a different story. So, I am very familiar with the lore of the card game, and honestly, I'm kind of sad that this is the first real book to even get an audiobook. I feel like we're coming in at the end of the story. Magic the Gathering has had a couple books since Lorwyn, but not many. They tried a graphic novel, and they dropped it after the second graphic novel, Path of the Planeswalker. They used to have books all the time telling the story that they would release in fat packs. Now, I've talked in the past about a book I read where the first chapter was this elf walking down a dirt path. This was from a book from the Lorwyn block that came when you bought a fat pack, and the idea was great, and I have no clue what happened to that book. But the idea of that was great, and I really liked it. And I wish they had made audiobooks for every book they've ever done. And I wish they would have continued on with the books, because if they had all these audiobooks, I'd be buying them all. I think Wizards has done themselves a great disservice by not doing more books and audiobooks. So I'm pretty sure there are plenty of writers out there that would love to do that. I don't know if there's a way to work with Wizards on that, but I mean, there's been so many good stories lately that we haven't gotten. And I mean, to find out the lore of the card game, you kind of gotta really search all over online. Unless you watch what I do. I watch this channel that does nothing but usually talk about lore, Aetherhub, and I love his channel because he does a really good job tracking down all the lore and telling the story. And if it wasn't for channels like this, I would not know what has been going on in the world of Magic. They've also been trying to do a movie for, God, so many years. And Magic is one of the first trading card games to ever have existed. And it has gone through such a bad rap. After everything in the Magic the Gathering lore and the card game, how does this book rank up? As a real hardcore fan of the game, who still loves playing the game, and I play on Magic the Gathering Arena, how does this book hold up from an author's point of view? So let's start with the cover. I love this cover. It's really good. It has the Planeswalkers. It's well designed. I love it. It's perfect. I can't even think of anything negative to say about the cover. Moving on to the title. Now, this is where I have a small issue. I don't see a reason why they had to put Ravnica on the title. It doesn't really need to be there. You learn it happens in Ravnica through the story. Having that on the cover, they could have just stuck with War of the Spark. Maybe they wanted to separate it from the booster cards that were coming out, because there was a set that was released at that same time, which was also called War of the Spark. Maybe that's why, and they wanted to separate it, but there was no need to separate it. It's part of that story. It's part of what's going on. And if you're looking for a book, it's perfect to put in there. War of the Spark. Moving on to the narration. Robert Petkoff was very good narrating this book. I've checked out, and there is a sequel to this book, but he didn't do it, which honestly is kind of depressing, because it would have been good to have him continue on doing this, story. I have not listened to the next ones yet. I'll get into why during the extras. I really liked his narration. I thought it was perfect. There was this little thing that, I don't know, it didn't really take me out of the story. It just kept making me think as I heard the story. I've said before that I'm a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. I've listened to a lot of H.P. Lovecraft audiobooks, and the way the story is read kind of felt like I was listening to an H.P. Lovecraft story being told to me. It's not that the story, because I'll get into that, what the story is hereafter, but it just felt like that's the way the narrator read it. I don't know if he's done any work with H.P. Lovecraft stories, but, I mean, he was really good. And I've enjoyed H.P. Lovecraft stories, so I enjoyed his, the way he read it. Moving on to the story. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's a new Planeswalker. He shows up on Ravnica, not by choice. You meet all the other Planeswalkers. The biggest issue, I'd say, I had with this story is it seemed like it was trying to copy Game of Thrones. Because the Game of Thrones books, from what I understand, I've started one of the books, actually follows a character per chapter. It's not written in a chapter format, it's written in a character format. You're following the story along with a character at a time, which is ultimately moving the story forward, but it's a little just jarring. You don't know what chapter you're on. There's no real chapter name. Sometimes, you're following the same planeswalker again. Then, you're jumping forward. And I don't know. I feel like that might have thrown some people off who are not familiar with the Game of Thrones books. But story-wise, this was perfect. It told exactly what was going on. I was a little concerned getting into this book that we were just going to get to the first part of the war and you had to go buy the second book to get the second part or to get the end, or you had to dig online and find out how the actual book ends because it's not in the book. You had to buy the cards and stuff to get that story. And no, I'm really glad that you get the entire story, basically. I'm not sure what the sequel book has, and I look forward to seeing what that next one's going to have, because we did get the entire war in this book, and you do get to see that come to an end. I really like that fact. Now let's move on to characters. So I did not mind the new characters at all, because we do get their cards in this set of the card game. You get to witness the events and go through the events with your favorite characters. I mean, they have some of the most powerful ones. I do wish they had mentioned kind of what other characters had happened or brought up something from the lore from previous events, like Garruk and Elizabeth, who had recently died on Theros the last time we were on Theros. I believe at this time, Garruk had been driven mad by the Chain Veil. So it just would have been nice to get a little catch up on characters we haven't heard or seen from, or that we weren't going to have in this book. But no, all the characters are fine. Moving on to the extras. I think I've covered just about everything. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed this book. As a fan, this is perfect. I really wish Wizards would do more of this. I wish there was an audiobook CD I could buy with every expansion. I would be picking it up. And I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm sure there are a ton of other players. They could be making an extra $25 per player who would want to go out and get these audiobooks. And the comic book stores or the card shops where you play at tournaments could be selling these audiobooks and the physical books. I have the audiobook and the physical book. I do have one major gripe with this audiobook, though, and that is simply this. The disc. Now, as you can see here, this is essentially the same as the cover. However, notice the orange casing. This is now the second time I've ordered an audiobook on CD, put it in my car, and it won't play. I have to put it on my computer, transfer it to iTunes, then put it onto my iPod, and then put it into a playlist just so I can listen to it. And then I have to remove it from my playlist because there's so many chapters. I really wish they had made this into a regular audio CD that just worked like any other CD that you could put in a car. I know not everybody has a CD player. That still would have been better. It would have opened it up for a wider audience. So if they do this, and they actually do make more audiobooks, please, Wizards, consider two things. Number one, start making more audiobooks for every set, especially since you are only giving us one set per block per world, which I think is a huge mistake, but I can get into that in a different video. And make the CDs so anybody can play it on any CD player, because things like this, it's kind of annoying. So overall, what would I give this book? My final score for Magic the Gathering's War of the Spark Ravnica, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The fact it was so good is what brings it up to an 8. But the fact that it's kind of a single story, and it's very depressing that there's not much to it. That this is all I'm going to probably get for an audiobook for one of my favorite card games. And the CD doesn't even work in my car. I'd have to go out and get a whole new stereo that actually plays an MP3 CD just to play this in my car. Or go through a long process and take up a lot of space on an iPod or a phone just to listen to it. And that really brings it down. They did have some music, but it was only at a couple spots. And I think they could have done more with that. If you're going to go for it, go for it. Put it on there all the way. This was your end game. If you are a fan of the end game from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then this is a book you'll really like, because this is Magic's end game. Even though there are bigger and better stories, at least with Magic, I can tell you this. There's bigger things coming. We've already had one of the things I would have loved to see more than anything is an audiobook of the entire Eldrazi storyline, which isn't even over yet. It would have been so cool to have audiobooks of that, but we never got it. And that, honestly, to me, is going to make this War of the Spark book look like child's play, and not the movie with Chucky. This was nothing for the Planeswalkers. So, my final score, like I said, an 8 out of 10. If you are a Magic player and you just don't have the time to, or you just don't have a comic book store or a game shop near you that has tournaments, check out, and they're not paying me to say this, Magic the Gathering Arena online. It's free to download, free to play. Magic is one of the best games I've ever played. I've stuck with it longer than I've stuck with other games. I started kind of playing trading card games with Yu-Gi-Oh! I dabbled in Pokemon a little bit, but Magic the Gathering has been kind of the best one that I've enjoyed. So download Magic the Gathering Arena. Check it out, the book. Check out Aetherhub. They really know their stuff over there, and he has such a good way of telling it. I would not mind if he actually did some of the audiobooks, or if Wizards let him do audiobooks of all the past stuff. I would buy everything they put out as far as audiobooks go. So, again, 8 out of 10. Love this. Love the game. If you are a fan, please subscribe today. I have a few notes. Recently, I put out a video where I mentioned that I'm giving away free ebooks at the end of this month. I believe that starts very shortly. As of the date of this video, it should be starting this Friday. If you pick it up, please. It's a free ebook. If you like reading and you like fantasy, similar to Magic, kinda, check out my ebook. You will not be disappointed. It is full of everything a fantasy reader could want. I also would like to announce, too, that I have recently updated all my covers. It might be worth checking that out, too. Honestly, I have opinions about covers, but you're more than welcome to check out that video. So, check that out, and please consider subscribing to this channel. Make sure to click the notification bell so you're updated the second a new video goes up, because you never know what I'm going to be putting in that video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you next time.